Would you like to be able to patch holes in your house and stop bleeding with one product? Try Megalon 2024. Trademark FDA approved, patent pending, not recommended for use with seniors, children, pregnant women, professionals, child seniors, sexual encounters, or Shia LaBeouf.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name's Tommy, and with us still missing DL's Musk as he's in the middle of moving across the pond, I am so delighted this week to be joined by not one, but two fantastic human beings. In the red corner, we have our Gresident, guest resident of the show, the mind behind the Stitch-Up, Hit 66 Sound and Screen, along with the Film Addicts podcast. It's a returning Regs, everybody.
Hey.
And in the blue corner, we have the man, the myth, the editing master. He's the voice behind Coffee with a Podcaster. For you all who don't know, it's Mr. Matthew Bliss, everybody. Hello to you both.
Oi, oi.
G'day.
How are you? That's a low energy coming in from this.
Should we go up?
Let's go.
Like, that's just
You were setting us up for a fight there, but I think if anything, I've been lightly massaging Regs and yourself for a very long time as the podcast editor for this show.
Vocally, yeah, absolutely.
Making us sound significantly better than we are. It's great to see you in person, have you in person.
Indeed, and it's great to be here, to finally be able to yell at you every time you mispronounce any kind of name where I sit in my editing booth going, "It's Cillian Murphy, you idiot."
You mean absolutely every single podcast?
Almost.
It's nuclear, you fucking... Never mind.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's great to actually have you, and great to get you on board, because we've been trying to have you on, Matt, for quite a long time.
Indeed. I believe you were bereft of Invincible Season 1 content for a long time.
That would be a DL challenge that we had for a hot minute there. He didn't want to watch it for some reason, but I think he's watched it now, so we might have to come back around to Invincible. Reeks, have you seen Invincible?
I saw the first season. Yeah, it's a good show. The book's too good. The book is good as well. The
books are excellent. Yeah, they absolutely are. Excited to talk about our main topics, guys?
I am, man. I think this might have been one of the first big disagrees, which is interesting.
Oh, how dare you?
No, in the episodes that I've been on, like, you know.
It's true. It's certainly a movie. Let's say that much. I'm excited to talk about it. I have a lot of notes. I had to, I'd never do this, but I actually took my phone out in the theater to write down just one single name, and we're going to come back to that. There's a reason. There's a reason why I wrote that name down. But Matt, tell us about Coffee with a Podcaster. Are you still doing Coffee with a Podcaster?
It's on and off. For those of you in the audience that don't know what I do in my day job, I edit podcasts for more than just Podcast Assemble.
There are other podcasts.
There are other podcasts.
I mean, Regs has another podcast, so I must be.
You can check out my portfolio at mbpod.com if you're curious to find out more.
Plug. I love that.
It's a funny thing when you do podcast editing and production for your work. It's sometimes hard to motivate yourself to do it for yourself. So, yeah, Coffee with a Podcaster has been missing episodes for a little while, but the information is evergreen. So if you're curious yourself to check out some more podcast content, go and grab it.
Beautiful, wholesome content. And I think DL listened to a couple of your podcasts about moving across ponds as he was moving across ponds, which was very nice, I think he found. But as you are technically a new guest, you're not new to the podcast, you know what we do here. But as you're a new guest, I do technically have to ask you the initiation question, which I've kind of made a thing now. So it's happening. We do it every time.
Back, crack, or sack?
Sack every time.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bliss, what is your third favorite dinosaur?
The Ankylosaurus.
Oh my God. Why do you... I've made this too obvious. People are Googling weird dinosaurs. Tell me about the Ankylosaurus.
I didn't Google Chevipteryx. That's always been my favorite third dinosaur.
My favorite is the Cankyliosaurus.
Ooh, there you go.
That's when you get swollen ankles.
See, there's a really fun thing where probably I'm not going to try and guess Regs' age or yourself, but at the time when we were growing up, there was a period of time where getting fact sheets about dinosaurs and animals was a really cool thing for children. So I had like folders of little mail out sheets you get every month or week or whatever in the post, and you build out that massive catalog of stuff. So, you know, there's a back catalog of dinosaurs sitting there that are probably all now incorrect or like non-existent.
Well, they don't have feathers, so they're clearly definitely not right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, look, you got a big armadillo thing with a, what do you call it? Like a ball and chain hanging off its ass. Then, yeah.
That's a fun one. Is that what the one is that you said?
Yeah, the Ankylosaurus is the one that I mentioned. Yeah.
Thing with the big, long, like, mace on the back of it.
Yeah, it was almost like an armored kind of thing. You know, probably wrong.
Fuck, nature's weird, man.
I love finding out about dinosaurs. I think they're fascinating. And every time I find out more, I realize I know absolutely fucking nothing about dinosaurs. But they're so cool. I think they were so ingrained in our childhoods. Definitely for me, like growing up, like Jurassic Park, even all the way through to things like Power Rangers. Like, I know it's not technically dinosaurs, but to me, I loved growing up with all of those silly Zords that they had. It's like ingrained. It's so ingrained. I used to go to London quite regularly with my parents. We'd go to the National History Museum. Don't know if you guys have ever heard of or know anything about the National History Museum in London. When he says national history, very loose. We're talking about the UK here. They probably stole 90% of it. But
90? That's fucking being fair.
They stole all of it.
They stole all of it, mate. At gunpoint.
There is like literally an exhibition where you come around a corner and it's an animatronic T-Rex, and it's kind of like growls or roars at you, and you just go like, as a kid, it's the best thing of all time. You're like, it's a real T-Rex. Oh man, I miss being a child.
And they stole that from Jurassic Park, the sons of bitches.
Fun story. In 2013, I went to the National British Museum after having studied Greek and Minoan history in university.
Right. Oh, wow.
And I also visited Greece this year for my belated honeymoon. And I stood on the Acropolis and I looked up at the big, massive kind of preserved
what's the next word here?
building. And I said to myself, you know what? I bet there's more original stuff in the British Museum than in the original fucking country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We have that reputation / have done lots of bad things. Let's not go into British history. There's no need for it because we don't really have one.
We're all colonialists here. Like, let's not.
We are all very white.
Put lipstick on a pig. Can I just ask a question though, Matt? When you said you studied Greek, and was it Mayan history?
For the Greeks, it was usually focused on the Golden Age. So whenever you think of like Aristotle, Socrates, the Peloponnesian War, and the Minoan and Mycenaean stuff was ancient Greece. So before the eruption of Santorini, the eruption of Theia, that covered the entire planet in its ash, including Antarctica. Yeah, it was ancient stuff.
Awesome. That's really cool, man.
Fascinating. Yeah. It's actually one of my favorite time periods, and I nerd out on it a lot. If anything comes up that's new and it's like about ancient Greece or ancient Greece, I'm like so in. Like, give me all of this. Like, put it in my veins, you know?
Love it.
So good.
Guys, there will be time codes in the description if you want to jump around. Supplied by friend of the show and man in the booth, Mr. Matthew Bliss of Bliss.fm, who's right here with us. Matt, have you given us a 5-star review yet?
I give every one of my boutique VIP clients 5-star reviews and implore everyone.
But have you taken your wife's phone and made her do it on hers as well?
Listen, it's hard to wrestle TikTok and Instagram reels out of the hands of that young lady as she's scrolling of an evening. But I do what I can.
Brilliant. Guys, look, if you give us a 5-star review, it would really help us with algorithms. Things you don't understand. If you know someone who likes this kind of geeky nonsense, please feel free to pass on the pod. Guys, as you both have your own podcasts and podcasting materials, maybe now is a nice time to give them a little plug.
Well, I studied Greek and stuff too, so fuck you.
Does that come through on your podcast?
You go ahead, Matt. I've spruiked myself plenty on this show. You go.
Well, to be fair, I'll be spruiking myself where I've been spruiked at least twice in almost every episode for the last maybe 80.
You've been with us a long time.
If you enjoy the sound of my voice, you can check me out on LinkedIn and you can see all of my podcasting work, mbpod.com, and you can get in touch at business@mbpod.com if you're curious how I can help you with your podcast, dear listener. You can also check out my podcasts. Coffee with a Podcaster is podcasting content. From my home to yours is the kind of love note to my wife's and I transition to Ireland from Australia. Episode 5 in particular is one that I'm proud of. I'm not sure if you guys talked about it on the show yet, actually, but that was voice recordings that my wife and I did as we cleaned up the house, got the house ready for the renters, moved my parents, recorded in the airport. Like we took notes emotional notes in ambient situations and transitioned them with a bit of soundscapes. And one of those soundscapes was magpies recorded from a bedroom window that my wife really misses. So
there you go. Episode 5, ladies and gentlemen. You have to go away and check that out. Boost up his pod ratings and give these guys a 5-star as well. Give the Film Addicts podcast a 5-star or give it likes on YouTube. All the things that we like to hear. Gents, what have you been up to?
I'm going to go first, only because I feel like I need to reach out to my man DL because, you know, brother, this is 2 in a row for me. You're about to get single white female, you Californian bitch. Actually, it's not single white female. Do you know what it is? It's that scene in Taxi Driver with Scorsese. He's like, you know, he's up there. That's a thing. He said, look up at that window. You know who lives there? A podcaster lives there. That podcaster's fucking my wife. Like that's what's happening. So much love, brother. I'm just holding down the fort.
Wait, am I the wife in this situation? What's happening?
Yes. You absolutely are.
Well, we are both pod sluts at this point. We know that, and there's no kink shaming here. But if podcasting's your thing,
this is the third one I've recorded this week, and I had to say no to another one because.
Oh wow! Who are you recording with?
None of your business. No, it's my show, and then a secret one I can't talk about yet.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Which would be fun. It's actually me and Matt have got a spin-off show, which is all about ancient Greece.
You and DL are actually doing it without me.
Yeah, me and DL. Are doing podcast.
You're not missing his musk. You're actually smelling it all the time.
Yeah, we're doing the whole thing. But yeah, I must tell you, like in the last sort of few days or whatever, I watched a really good picture. Apple TV released a film called Wolves.
Oh, I've been interested to watch that. It's with Bradley Pitthew and Georgios Klounios.
That's who they were when they were also from Thermopylae.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really fucking good. I really dug it. Great score.
Okay, I've heard mixed reviews.
I don't know. It just got me. I just thought it was good, and I like to recommend good stuff to people. And I forgot to mention it when I recorded my own show yesterday.
There you go. I hear the chemistry of those guys sort of carries it without it necessarily having like a punchy direction. Does that kind of fulfill how you felt about it?
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit more kind of. Like it's not as cartoonish as Ocean's 11 or whatever. It's actually
I loved Ocean's 11.
It's a good movie, but there's some serious elements to this film, and it's really well directed. Like it's really measured and paced, and everything's kind of articulated really well, as opposed to being kind of a slapdash thrown together thing. Everything had to have real intent. A lot of dolly work and stuff like that. So yeah, I dug it a lot.
From memory, that was John Watts, the chap who did the recent Spider-Man's movies.
Yeah. Good director. It's hard to see when he's making those big movies, but Cop Car is pretty great.
Yeah, awesome. I'll go and check that out. Matt, have you seen that yet?
I haven't, but I've been curious myself, and for the same reasons that you just mentioned there, Regs, that it's very easy to take 2 good actor friends who act good and make it all about that instead of focusing on the other things that actually make it a good film.
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
Good to hear. I'll be checking that out.
You should.
I've heard interesting things about Bradley Pitthew. I hear he's a bad bloke, but let's move on from that, Matt. What have you been up to?
Oh, man, everyone in Hollywood fucking is doing something. P. Diddy or whatever the hell's going on.
Finding holes in his basement or whatever.
Speaking of my partner, speaking of Instagram and TikTok Reels, my partner has been obsessed with this P. Diddy stuff. As in, like,
mine too.
If it ever clicks on, if she's ever on a phone, it's absolutely always, without fail, something new about P. Diddy or the trial. And I'm just like, I think I know more by osmosis than I would have done if I'd have actually looked into it. It's just shooting
on like Friday last week. I was shooting at a bar in Cape Sound, like down near where the studio is.
Yeah,
and I was filming a Battle of the Bands competition that we run at that bar.
Sounds fun.
And it was cool. It was good fun. Lots of really good bands, and it was a big night. They sold out. That was awesome. But the largest conversations that I had that night were because I had no idea what was going on, were P. Diddy conversations. Almost every second person was talking about what Diddy did, or what did he do?
I'm glad you finished that sentence because you just said "whoopee," and I was like, "Whoopee? What?"
That too. He's doing that as well. He's going full R. Kelly. Like, yeah.
They're going to make fun cellmates, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, they're best buds,
Jesus.
There's a sitcom in there. Absolutely.
So apparently this is the tip of the iceberg. And I don't want to be talking about this for much longer, but like apparently this is like the very tip. He Like the tendrils from this, just the tip. That's what he started with. The tendrils of this go into a lot of different, quite senior folks in the music industry and politics and whatnot. I mean, anyone that rich is probably a little bit corrupt at this point, but apparently it's really bad. So I'm intrigued to see where it actually ends up.
Hashtag Me Too too.
Yeah, Me Too too. Yeah, Me Too the sequel.
Well, hasn't 50 Cent already started doing a documentary with Netflix? It's like, come on, like people knew about this.
Of course. Same thing about how they knew about Cosby for all those years.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, all of it. Every single one, which is wild.
Yeah.
Matthew, have you got anything which is a little bit less depressing than P. Diddy?
Well, I've got a few things to jump off, actually.
Ooh, please.
The first, Regs, last week you mentioned on the podcast that you watched Sugar on Apple TV.
I love Sugar.
And we watched the first episode too. What a show.
Yeah. Careful, Matt, don't go too far into the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. It is a brilliant show, done
I feel
well.
like the odd one out here. I don't like it.
Colin Farrell, love seeing him in good work.
Yes,
not just because I now feel like I'm working towards my Irish passport. But the
vibes
of Sugar is just great because it's set in, I want to say, Tinseltown. Like it's built in a way that
California,
is kind of it's kind of a nod to.
It's more than a nod. It's like a loving hug to like old films. And I've only seen I think probably maybe I've seen 2 episodes. Perhaps I'm wrong, but like the way it splices in footage from old films, it feels like whoever created this show is just in love with old cinema. Not in love.
Yeah.
They're not in love with it, but they love it. I just obsessed.
But it makes sense because it weaves through the story as well as through the aesthetic of the entire show.
I love that about it too.
Really cool. But the directions it takes the show, it pushes it out of the park for me. Like
okay,
A+,
I like that.
Chuck it on the list, top 10 of 2024, I reckon.
Really?
If it gets a second season, great. If it doesn't get a second season, great. Like it's totally.
Wow.
I'm fine with it ending, but I'm also fine with it keep going. I reckon Colin Farrell's one of the best to ever do it, man.
Yeah,
he's getting stronger and stronger.
He's been, he's a thing that we talked about last week, and I would like to bring up again. So, sorry, would you recommend that, Matt? Obviously,
absolutely, yeah.
Because we are, like I say, 2 episodes in, we're going to be giving it a proper push, but we are also 2 episodes into Los Penguinos. So. We started that. I think you pronounced
the telenovela version.
I think you pronounced it Pingling. I'm not sure. It could be Pingling.
If you're Benedict Cumberbatch, yeah.
That's right. Somebody had to pick that one up. What do you think of that? Are you up to date? Have you seen the 2nd episode, gents?
I haven't watched any Penguin, so go for it.
It's a good time, man.
Pingling.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's like Sopranos, but in Gotham.
Yeah, it's got that vibe to it, hasn't it? It's got a real edginess to it, more so than I expected it to.
Yeah, and for some reason you give a shit about this guy as well. You really shouldn't.
Can you clear up for me? I did see a social media post about a potentially prosthetic penis that is adorned by an individual. I was curious because the wording of it wasn't particularly clear. Is it a man's penis on a penguin or a penguin's penis on a man?
Little column A, little column B. You just have to watch the fight.
Colin Farrell is notoriously hung like Far Lap, so the answer is whatever the fuck he wants.
I really don't want to bring up his work at the Children's Hospital now. I think we need to go in the other direction.
Him and Diddy had a great time in our hospital. Casting aspersions. Well, it's funny you say that, actually, and that just made me laugh because my beautiful fiance came home ages ago. We've been talking about Mad Men, and I've never watched Mad Men all the way through, but very similar. Apparently, Jon Hamm is, like red rum downstairs. So like I was like, yeah, sure, that's all naysay. But apparently, he was in Australia for a big event that my partner's team was running, and he took one of the girls home from the team. The rumors are apparently true.
She went to the hospital afterwards, right?
She did. Yeah. Everyone thought it was really funny after the funeral. Yeah. Homie's like got an Evian bottle down there. You know what I mean? The 12-ouncer.
Do you reckon that's like a prerequisite to being like a big star these days? You've got to be able to, be able to lean forward and not fall over.
I certainly hope so. I want more big dicks in Hollywood.
Either that, or they need to really create a celebrity version of a track pant that really doesn't expose that, because that was Jon Hamm's big release at the time.
You're absolutely right.
Why on earth have we ended up talking about this? This is such a weird direction to go in, but I would say...
My bad. You haven't even talked about penguin penises yet.
I don't think we need to, let's be honest. I would absolutely recommend the Pingling if you haven't had the opportunity to go and watch it, which you haven't, Matt. Like, it's dark, it's sinister, but also has some light elements to it, which I didn't expect either. And, like, there's a dark comedy to it, which I really vibe with.
It's very funny in places, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Gotham required reading for Penguin?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think so at all. I think the interesting thing is when it zooms out of the mob boss stuff and you actually see Gotham, that's when it falls down for me, because I think they use a lot of CGI to build some of the environments they're in, especially when there's a scene when they're under a bridge and it just looked awful. And then they zoomed right in and it was just the two characters and it was fantastic because obviously it's all Colin and you're just like, great, this is what I want. Like, this is a guy who's the top of his craft. But as soon as like it takes a step back, you're like, oh no, that looks shit. I don't know if you feel the same, Regs.
I'm so into the performances, I don't even notice that. You're looking
Right.
past. I'm not looking past it yet. I don't know. But did you say Gotham requiring read? It's not a spin-off of the TV show Gotham.
Oh, isn't it?
No, it's a direct sequel to the Batman.
Oh, I
with
thought
Matt
It is.
Reeves. Matt Reeves' Batman with
apologies. I thought you meant
Pattinson.
the comics that were created after the Batman. It's not. It is not to do with Gotham.
I was under a mis... Okay, that's good to know.
It's like set 2 weeks after the end of that picture.
The Dark Knight Rises, right?
No, the one with Pattinson.
Oh
I
boy,
think you're doing that on purpose.
it sounds like it. I think I have a lot more homework than I thought I did. So
Brilliant.
I'll report back.
I was quite sure you were joking then, which made it even funnier.
Listen, if you listen to the episode that you guys recorded and I had to edit about the Patabat, I don't think
Pattern back.
I just sometimes I come out of episodes that you guys get to before I get to see them, and I don't feel like I have to see it. But then I get surprised.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
Sometimes it's a good thing. Maybe this week it would have been a good thing. But
we certainly picked the week to bring you on, didn't we?
I was very fortunate that you guys gave me the 1 week warning for Deadpool X Wolverine or whatever that's called. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I will go back in the catalog and do all of the Batman homework.
Brilliant. Do you guys have a quick around the grounds one more thing you've been up to?
I do. After a 12-year resistance, my wife is finally going through the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, spectacular.
Round of applause.
Yeah,
Love
we're up
that
to the
for
Return
her.
of the King.
Love that for
Yep.
her.
Amazing.
Tough to get on board. It's a really funny story, actually. She's historically not a fantasy or a sci-fi person, and yet I've gotten her to sit through Foundation and really highfalutin stuff.
That's deep bench shit, Asimov. Yeah.
Super deep.
Even I couldn't finish Foundation. I found it
Oh,
way
so
too
good.
weird.
I love it. Speaking of empires again, the thing that I introduced her to when we first met, which was the big problem, was...
Where's this going? Are you Jon Hamm?
The big problem. That's what they call it in the
That's
society.
what they call
That's
it.
what Jon Hamm's dick is known
Matt
as.
leans forward and he doesn't actually fall over. I love it. Sorry. What
Or I just stand up. Wink.
What did you introduce
But no,
us to?
Geordie Shore is the Jon Hamm longman of reality television, because you love to see
It's
it,
the worst show.
and it lasts a long time.
My God.
But
I got made redundant from an old job a long time ago, and I was still in Melbourne at the time. And I remember my housemate at the time also got made redundant too. And he would just put Geordie Shore on at like 9 a.m. when he woke up, and it would still be on the TV at like 10 p.m. when I got back from whatever I was doing. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is on all the time. They are the worst people.
I don't know what year that happened to you, but there are like 17 or 18 seasons of that show.
Whoa.
They do 2 a year, because essentially it's about chucking 8 initially not TV trained, but TV trained people into a British house where they go out and talk about relationship stuff, go out of the evening, and then gradually, as the seasons progress, it becomes less about the drinking and the party drama and more about them buying takeout on the way home and throwing it at each other in the hot tub.
I have a serious question. I have to pause you for just 1 minute there. Are you still talking about Lord of the Rings?
Listen, we haven't gone through the 4.5 hour extended editions yet, so I'll come back to you on that.
With all the weed smoking. I can't even tell you how much I fucking hate reality TV. Like, I don't hate anything in this life. Hate is a really strong word. but I hate reality TV. It is the bane of my existence, and it gets in the way of so much. We're just collectively, I don't even know how to do.
But it's cheap. That's why they like to make it. Can I ask you a question, Matt? Do you have to watch
Jersey Shore?
You have to for every 30 minutes of Lord of the Rings you watch, you have to watch an episode of Geordie Shore. Could you recommend it to our listeners?
Oh God.
That's a gambit, that one, you know.
That's like Whiplash. You know, you're going to the hospital after, like, you don't want to go from Helm's Deep and then watch some guy deep throat dim sims and go, oh, they don't have dim sims in Britain.
Don't they?
No.
Dim simless.
I'm hungering for a dim sim. I haven't been able to find one in Ireland or England.
I'm going to send you some.
Thank you. That'd be great. South Market, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I do not recommend you do that.
You're avoiding the question.
What I do
here.
Listen, if you want to put bananas in your peanut butter sandwich, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But if you like the taste, go for it. That's my answer.
That's what I have to say. About Jon Hamm? What's happening in this conversation?
Chuck ham in there too. I don't care.
Ham, peanut butter, potassium. It's all good.
It'll taste the same. Legolas, what do your elf eyes see? A fucking dickhead across the bard, and going full Australian again.
Hey, you know who this fucking guy is? Fucking Aragorn, mate. Fucking Aragorn.
You want to go, buddy?
He's the king.
Brilliant.
Anyway.
I don't even know where to go with this. Regs, what's your final one before we move on?
My final one is, of all the things that I am a part of, I'm a part of something else now. A friend of mine has cast me in a play. So I will be playing.
Which version of Regs will be there?
Tree number 3.
I'll be playing Plant in the ficus in the corner.
Could you be Ground? That's the one I do.
Yes, I absolutely can. No, I'm playing Mr. Brown in a stage production of Reservoir Dogs.
Yikes! I would love to see that. When is this?
It doesn't actually open until October next year, but we have a read through of the script on Monday.
Wow!
So I've only got a little, like, Mr. Brown's only in it for the beginning, and he has the big long diatribe about Like a Virgin being a song about a woman who likes big dicks. So I do that little bit, and then that's it. I bounce, and then I've got a couple of voiceover things that happen during the show as cops or whatever, because I'm not a seasoned actor. But I just thought, on top of podcasting and running a film production studio and being a screenwriter and all that kind of stuff, it was like, now I did it again. Now I'm doing that as well.
So whenever Regan on podcasts, he counts 4-finger, middle finger, little finger, ring finger, and it wigs me out every time.
Honestly, don't know why I do it.
I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, what's happening here?
Lots of things.
That's amazing, man. Like, that's so cool. And I love that you get to do, like, the part that you were made for, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, the sex pest who gets shot in the fucking head.
I didn't want to say it out loud. But that's awesome. That's that big old monologue's going to be awesome. That's going to be interesting for someone who's not a seasoned actor.
Yeah, I mean, I've acted a lot, but just not in the recent history. But the thing that is getting me is, like, I don't want to rewatch the movie. And I'm doing the voice, and I'm trying to think about, okay, well, where's this guy from? He was a getaway driver. He's kind of a bit of a pain in the ass. He wants to get everybody.
Get into character. I love it. You're trying to give him a backstory.
No, yeah, seriously. And exactly, and thinking about it, and I want him to be somewhere where no one else is. So I'm making him from Boston, because there's more bank robberies and getaway drivers in Boston than there is in anywhere else. So there
will be enough Mark Wahlberg.
That's exactly it. There will be no, I'm channeling Mark Wahlberg. I absolutely am. Just, not the hate crimes and all that stuff. But, definitely his voice.
I honestly thought you were going to say Ballarat. Like you were saying.
You're going to make it from Ballarat.
He's going to be from somewhere random. Somewhere you wouldn't expect.
From the rat. Nah, doubtful.
But that's so much fun, man. I love that. I'd love to see that when it comes around. If you keep me in the loop, we can let our listeners know about it as well. So hopefully you might get some Podcast Assemble people there too.
Amazing.
Guys, let us know what you recommend. We've given you a plethora of ideas of things you might or might not want to watch here. But hit us up, send us memes, send us news, send us reviews, send them to @podcastassemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Can't find us there, just find our website, www.podcastassemble.com. We are there. All our details are there. Send us things. We'll call you out when you do. Gentlemen, do you want to preface the main topic for this week?
It's the main topic theme.
This week, we are going full spoilers, talking about Megalopolis, a 80s classic.
Megalopolis, more like, got him!
Mega Sloppy Lips, yep.
That was my punk band in high school.
Delicious. Then there was A Chemical Romance. Megalopolis.
You can't even say it. Yes, I win.
Yeah, you've ruined it. So it is a modern epic set with a Roman epic set in New York. Between
not in New York.
two. Is it not in New York?
It's New Rome.
Fucking whatever the fuck ever. It's all someplace, wherever it is, you know?
This could very much be the Tommy and Regs show by the looks of it, because you're already picking apart my short description of trying to get
I was backing you up, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Look, it's told like a Roman epic between after the Catullus classic from ancient Roman times, kind of adapted from something preserved in Roman history, but with a modern lens looking at the future of the world and how we behave as people in a society, set with Mayor Cicero and the head of the Design Academy or whatever it's called, Catalina.
It's the Avengers, basically.
Yeah.
What it is, yeah.
Essentially. But, this is an extremely poor description, but, I couldn't go to the cinema to see this bad boy, so...
We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're definitely talking about that in a minute.
He's doing the cheeky pirate.
He's from Bristol.
So you're telling me there wasn't a really loud fart about 3/4 of the way through?
There was, but it was only because I'd had a black bean burrito before I went into the screening, so it was delicious.
Now, the thing I find most
Diarrhea.
interesting about this is that I went in being really hopeful about this, and I'm pretty sure you did too, Regan, right?
Absolutely. I was, and I kind of, let me just say as well, I know other people can't see this, our beards are like the babushka doll of beards. They kind of get a little less as it goes down, and the glasses get smaller as well, but the other way, which is really interesting. Do a screenshot. Yeah, I give this a lot of leeway, and I'll tell you why. Francis Ford Coppola is really working some shit out here. Like, he made his first real film in 1963, it was Dementia 16. That was 60 years ago, man. He is the baby at the end of this picture. It's like this. Imagine being an aging filmmaker, storyteller, living through the culture that we're in now, both in media and just on the streets, seeing 60 years of change and trying to express that in 2 hours, in what will be probably your final film. It's political takeovers, it's social expansion, it's cost of living, rich versus poor, dark versus light, time, the future, make Rome great again, and the fucking TikTok generation. It's no wonder it's messy, man. There's 6 fucking decades of stuff cluttering it all up. And as an artist, I appreciate what he was trying to do, however flat it falls, you know?
Well, let's talk about that, absolutely. But I think, I'm not sure, I think it's pronounced Francis Ford Coppola. Is that not right?
No. Straight up no, you fucking tit.
Before we get into it, I believe you two both have stupid plot summaries, so I'm going to leave it to the professionals this week.
We do. Matt, please take the red carpets in front of you, mate.
Sure. And I'm hoping this will reveal how much I agree with your take on Megalopolis, even if it, as you said, does fall flat. Francis Ford Coppola had an idea for a modern Roman epic while on the crapper, and wrote the Megalopolis entirely on subsequent toilet trips over 40 years. Written entirely on toilet paper, other available toilet reading was Hamlet, a 90s Playboy, and a torn-out page from a Roman Empire history book.
The 90s porno?
I like that a lot.
That's exactly what it is. This thing is 90s as fuck.
Yeah, it really is. Go on, Reeks, what's yours?
Mine is, in New Rome, no one has correct eyebrows. Palace intrigue and political cunnilingus are the national sport, and it seems that Adam Driver is the only one who gets what this is. Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which is my actual third favourite dinosaur, is just that. Mega.
Lovely.
I absolutely love that. As you've said multiple times, this is obviously Francis Ford Coppola. It could be his last movie. I mean, he's certainly not going to get funding for another movie after this, but it has such a giant cast. Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, Audrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, John Voight. Take a deep breath. So many different people. Even Dustin Hoffman somehow makes an appearance in this. And it is such a stacked cast. And look, I have thoughts about this movie. I've got a lot of things I want to say. But I think when we're talking about the plot, the things that happen in this, I might even need to divert to you guys, because I honestly came out of it so almost embarrassed that I didn't remember what any of the plot was. Do you know what did you get any of that at all? Because I think what I normally do is I like to start beginning of this and throw out there, you know, like what worked for me? Nothing. Literally nothing worked for this movie. It's such a massive waste of all that talent we just mentioned. And I can't tell if all of those talented actors are just trying to hang their hat on a Francis Ford Coppola movie so they can say they did one. Like, what were they doing here? Like, they weren't making it better.
Money, cash, money, fucking... Oh,
they were basically
bucks.
taking an old man's money.
Yeah, it is. It's elder abuse at this point.
It was his money, $120 million
Literally.
At some point, I think.
He sold like a bunch of his wineries.
His
off for this.
winery, like, fuck, man. That's intense.
But apparently he didn't sell all of it. He just sold part of it. So, like, man's rich enough. Like, come on.
He's been doing that his entire career. He mortgaged his house to make Apocalypse Now. I went and saw The Conversation last night. They've done a re-release for its 50th anniversary in 4K. Fucking perfect movie, by the way. That had no money behind it either. Like, he's always done this. He wants to make what he wants to make, and fuck all y'all, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it just
and I completely get that, and I'm 100% behind, you know, an artiste being an artiste, you know. I know you don't necessarily believe, Regs, in the auteur, but I think if anyone is an auteur, it's this dude who's gone fucking spent $120 million of his money on creating this thing that it's a thing. It's at least there. But the thing that I couldn't get over the whole way through watching this was like, it felt like Francis Ford Coppola was just taking out all of his microaggressions that he's been building up for how many years? 60 plus years on us. And we're not the ones who make movies what they are today. I'm sitting there going, like, I don't give a fuck about your feelings on the movie industry. Like, and the biggest irony, and I'm sorry, but the biggest irony in this was the fact that all the things he was trying to give a big middle finger to, too much CGI, weird storytelling, big casts with too many people like fucking Marvel movies. He did all that shit in this movie. I was like, bro, like, you are literally taking the piss out of yourself. Like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? And now I breathe.
It's all right, mate. Why don't you have a little, we'll get you a beer and get you to bed, all right? Like, just...
I think I need a nap. Look, right, and I've been talking for a while, but the thing, and this speaks volumes about this film to me. Like, I stuck through it, and there's two challenges I had through this movie, all the way through. The first one was that people were literally leaving around me. I was sat there with my fiance. I'd asked my fiance to come with me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go anyway. Like, if you want to come, like, please come. Like, you don't have to. People were literally getting up and leaving. And I spent the whole movie kind of going, fuck, I wish I could leave as well. But I felt so embarrassed that I brought my fiance along to see this movie. She only seems to come when I recommend fucking movies she's not going to like. She came to see The Northman. For God's sake.
The Northman rules,
and now
to
she's
be fair.
here watching this.
I like The Northman.
I love The Northman too, but is not friendly for her as an audience who's the TikTok generation. And I sat there the whole time, and I was cringing.
I think actually TikTok and The Northman are like the opposites, like black and white.
And this is too. It's like the polar opposite of that. And I was cringing the whole time. It made me. I was uncomfortable watching this movie, and the fact that it, like, there wasn't even a point to it. Outside of what I mentioned with Francis Ford Coppola trying to ironically take the piss out of modern movies, I was so upset that I took my fiance to see this.
I know it was very British of you, and the message you sent me, like, you know, oh, and I felt terrible about it all the drive home. I was trying to justify it, and then
yeah. So for context, Matt, we left the cinema, and my fiance was talking about it, and you know, she immediately
texted Regs and said, Tommy took me to this film and it was a fucking joke.
And I'm going to leave him. And
well,
Regs was
texting me saying how much he enjoyed it. And my fiance was sat there being like, what on earth did I just watch? And I was sort of feeling like I felt like I had to, you know, back up my own decision. I had to back myself. And I was trying to be nice. It was like, oh, well, it had this theme and it had this. And then I thought, like, why am I doing this? That is a piece of hot garbage we just spent 2.5 hours of our fucking lives watching. Why am I trying to defend this? So in the end, I just went, you know what? Screw it. This was absolute trash. And the vitriol just
it's been going for 4 days. I must say, though, you said that you were uncomfortable during the screening. I was in the screening, and it was me and two people who were 11. Like, they were... They were the oldest people. They were the oldest things I've ever seen. They looked Nosferatu.
Other than Francis Ford Coppola.
And it was Francis. Oh, Eleanor, poor lady. R.I.P. But they were old. All right, and they were eating ice cream and the whole thing. And when Shia LaBeouf is trying to get,
were they making noises while they're eating the ice cream? Like,
No, that actually, that would kind of be. I wouldn't have been able to hear it anyway over Shia LaBeouf trying to get dialogue out with a mouth full of fucking clitoris. Like, it was. I was sitting there going, "Don't turn around because then you'll engage and they'll know that you know that we're both watching a sex scene at the same time and they're 100." Like, it was just.
They were probably making out behind you. They were probably having a great time.
They could see my erection. It was fucked. It was fucked.
It was like a 10.
Then you turned around to the back and Jon Hamm just winked at you from there. It was really weird.
John was there again.
Jon Hamm's ham winked at you.
Yeah.
Matt, you had a very different experience. You didn't go see this in the cinema, right?
I didn't. And to my...
Tell us what that's like.
I feel super disappointed. Look, I'm going to get fully up front here because I'm protected. No one knows where I live. Fuck you, FBI.
Is this behind a paywall? Come on.
I had to go and get a cam version of a film, which is something I have not had to do for a very long time. Because of the area of Ireland that I'm in, the closest cinema I could have seen this in is technically in Northern Ireland, like technically a different country.
Oh my God, amazing. How do you live?
They usually do incredibly well. They had the 10th anniversary of Interstellar there, and that was
great.
At my local. Good.
But completely in fairness to you, it couldn't have looked any worse. I don't care what the...
Well, look, I was happy to bow out of like cinematography and when you start talking about aspect ratio, because I know that that's not going to be something that I can comment on. But look, I did, you guys were in the cinema. It could have been socially awkward for you to leave. After 15 minutes, I had a compulsion to turn this thing off.
Wow.
But I knew, due to the pedigree that you've already talked about, Regs, that there has to be something here. Like, even though it's self-funded, self-published, there has to be something here. And
self-congratulatory.
Look, I've talked about the archaeology background. I've got a bit of technical background. I've also got a philosophy background. So my devil's advocate is a very powerful character. No, it's not what's his face from Devil's Advocate, Keanu Reeves, etc. It is a little fella who berates me and punishes me and tells me, no, there's something here. So look, I put my literary philosophy background and archaeological background to use to try and unpack this thing as it was moving. And look, whiplash is the right word, I think. If you remember the Toyota ad from Australia where people kept breaking their neck trying to look at the Toyota driving past.
That's super niche. I love a good niche reference.
Deep cut Australians, just come at me. Like, that's what it felt like. You know, there was portions of the future of the world being punished by a mayor who can't emerge from age-old tradition to embrace something innovative and take a risk. There's the sacking of a city by a massive mob of people that's put forward by the Trump character. And it probably doesn't surprise anyone that Shia LaBeouf becomes the Trump character very explicitly through just a couple of lines.
And his eyebrows have second billing, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, multiple credits. Multiple credits.
Eyebrow one played by fucking Scorsese himself.
Halfway through, he tried to be a different character entirely. Colosseum, I don't even know. But yeah, like all the way through, it's like a caricature of multiple themes that have been stuck together with duct tape. It's kind of, the message is there, but it's like a puzzle. You kind of have to sit down with the old Catalina controversy from ancient Roman times, understand what climate change is, understand the different generations and millennials and stuff and their impact on things, the impacts of greed and money. Like the one thing that I did love, absolutely, was the discussion of the concept of time in artistry. Like, that was one of the things that was as close to them talking about it as the concept itself, the idea that creating art makes time stop. There was also them standing on a tower that had a clock facing the sky, useless, and a bunch of girders around it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the girders, I couldn't tell what that was supposed to be because...
Well, go back in history and it's the people standing on the girders eating their lunch at the building site.
You can 100%. See it. But I mean, physically and literally, like, were they painted? Were they like, what was that? Because it looked like garbage. Like, this is clearly not a director who has any idea on scale or scope or how, like, some depth to a shot could look because, and you know, if they're supposed to be on top of a building, a gust of wind could blow them off, but they're just like la-di-daring around. I'm like, it's a dude who doesn't have a mind set in reality. Like, none of this has any, and I think that's probably one of my problems with it. I couldn't correlate my own feelings and thoughts to any of these characters. And the physical nature of things not being real in any single shot, I was like, this is fucking nonsense.
I think you're missing a critical point though, and it comes up at the very beginning. The title comes
Jon
up
Hamm's
and
cock.
it says Jon Hamm played that tower. And his ball sack was no, it says a fable.
Yeah.
Like you're placing actual, the physics and stuff onto it. Like it's like Grant Morrison talks about it. If you show a grown up something, they will pick it apart and go, well, that's not real. He couldn't fly. And, those don't make sense. Where's the wind and blowing people off those girders? And then you show a children something and go, oh, this girl who's half fish, her best friend is also a talking crab. And they go, okay. You know what I mean? Like, remove...
And they're playing drums underwater. How could sound move through the ocean?
It's Aquaman.
It's
Aquaman 2018. It's a better movie.
I was talking about The Little Mermaid, but whatever you're into. I like half-fish women.
I completely understand that. And if you were to look at it as in sort of,
Matt, can you cut out the part about how I said I like half-fish women? I feel like that's going to get misconstrued.
No. That needs
you
to stay in
forget
this
that
podcast.
I also cut the social clips, so I think that's going on the socials,
shit.
mate.
Well, all right, look, everyone. I like half-fish women, half-fish men.
But which way round?
That's the way round I would do it, as Ricky Gervais famously said.
Legs, bottom, fish top?
Yeah. No, you don't want legs and then a huge big fish head. That's not... I mean, actually, it's 2024.
That's the bit you want to be.
But there's other things you can do upstairs, like upstairs, by the way.
Upstairs on Jon Hamm's penis? Is that what we're still talking about?
He's always upstairs.
Too many
man.
Jon Hamm's penis. In many respects, there, Regs. I think if you were to put it in the backdrop, if you were to say this is a play, you're looking at this like a play.
Oh, sure.
Then I'm in. And I think a lot of this could work significantly better. If this was a stage show, sure. But it's not. It cost this idiot $120 million that he's never going to see again. I think it made $3 million its opening weekend in the US. And it's funny because you messaged me over the weekend and you sort of said, it's got like elements of like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo
and I was
plus
like,
Juliet?
I was like, you know what? Absolutely right. That was done in the fucking 90s.
And Dark
this
City,
guy
also done in the 90s.
Hasn't realized that cinema has progressed since the 90s. He's still thinking he's innovating. I'm like, no.
The last time he had a big release was 1997, and it was a John Grisham adaptation called The Rainmaker.
And you can tell.
Yeah. He is stuck in time, which is kind of the point.
But saying that, though, like the time thing was like, if you watch the trailers, portrayed as being like a big deal in this movie, but the time thing, like being able to stop time, didn't really have any bearing.
It just bookends it, really. Like that's
yeah, right, okay.
And they never explain that, and that's okay.
No.
Like I understand why they kind of, again, a fable. They're just letting things kind of happen. But I think a lot of modern audiences, yourself included, are going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and that's just one of the things that I feel this movie and I didn't hate all of this. I'm spewing a lot of vitriol, I admit, but like. A lot of it didn't make sense. There were a lot of like plot threads that came up and then just vanished like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
my brain goes directly to the one about the virgin chick who was like, her whole thing was that she was a virgin and weird, creepy old men were, paying money for her to stay a virgin. And I was like, all right, that's interesting. And it did a 5-minute for the plot, but then it just vanished. Like, what's the point of this? Like, it's not driving us anywhere. Everyone loves this Adam Driver character and they get over it immediately. Like, who cares?
But that's the split, I think. That's a really good example of where the split between the story and the message is clear. Like,
sure.
They realized they had to move the story along. So, of course, there is a video of...
a fake video.
Of Adam Driver with this person who was meant to be a virgin. But before that, I was sitting there watching it, thinking to myself, okay, there is a city on the brink of collapse and they're fundraising by selling virginity. Why do they care about it being a virgin? Like, it's a sexually driven fundraising of money for these old blokes who want to get with this virgin chick. And the only way they can do it is to put their money in the pot and stay in the city. And that's the way Cicero was trying to fund the future upkeep of a city, with him buried in debt. His desk sits in a pile of sand when his daughter goes to visit him just before they start speaking in Latin for no reason at all.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a bit of Latin. Yeah, but yeah, that's where it kind of you get a little bit of the good stuff, like the academic sits at you with a book and then he closes the book and walks off. and the storyteller comes back and goes, and this happens next. It's kind of brushes against each other a little bit.
And it's a shame as well that when that young girl was being bought, Liam Neeson wasn't in the crowd ready to take motherfuckers out. He was just, buy her.
He was there, but unfortunately Adam Driver's character was flailing his arms around with his drugs and randomly hitting people who laughed at him. He accidentally caught Liam Neeson.
I think Driver's great in this. I think he's the highlight, mate.
He was perfect
on it.
for it.
He's on it. He has a reality and a diction and a specificity about, the way that he just lets words come out. I just love him. He's wonderful to watch.
I completely agree. I don't mean to say anyone in this is intentionally bad. That's not what I'm getting at. I don't think anyone joins the project going, I'm going to make this terrible. Except maybe Liam Neeson, who you just mentioned, who is the same character in everything. But
absolute lies. I feel like I have to, support my fellow Irishman by suggesting a bunch of Liam Neeson
for a long
films.
time.
Fellow Irishman, take it easy. Fucking Matt Bliss has gone native.
Hey, I'm Irish, mate.
Marsh, mate. I fucking love Guinness and clovers. Fucking all
I went
that
down to get some of those Tato chippies. They were pretty fucking good.
Oh, mate, The Banshees has been Sheeran's the best movie last 10 years. Which actually might be the truth.
I think
love
it
that
is. Movie.
That's a great picture.
And again, Colin Farrell comes back. Yay!
The best. We should just talk about Colin Farrell for this
Enormous
podcast.
hog.
I don't have great things to say about this film. I did want to quickly say, to your points around, the fable and, reality versus unreality, I just don't think it helps the world building because you're supposed to be in this alternate reality, right? So you're supposed to be somewhere else and no one is who they are in the real world. And then at one point they just bust out a line about, and this is the name I wrote down. I threw the name out there. This is Chekhov's name. They just bust out the name Alfred Hitchcock. So there is a moment when the mayor's daughter, whose name I've already forgotten, which is absolutely terrible. I know in the thing she's Julia, but
I don't remember anybody's name.
It's Natalia Emmanuel. She's flicking through this big conceit about Adam Driver's character having potentially killed or not killed his wife, which didn't have any bearing on the plot, just another thing. And she's flicking through the mayor's old notes because he was the one who tried to prosecute Adam Driver. And she goes it reads like an Alfred Hitchcock film. And I go well...
So Alfred Hitchcock exists in this world?
Yeah, and that's my point. I'm make up your fucking mind. Are we in the real world? Are we in New Rome? What is happening here? I even think at one point they said New York when they meant New Rome. And I was I don't know how much of this was done off the cuff in terms of, there's a lot.
I have a counterexample to which the internet kind of said, what? Walk away. I was reading Game of Thrones, and at some point, I think in the third book, Tyrion makes a reference to Troy, the Greek sacking of Troy and a Trojan horse.
I thought you were going to say he makes reference to fucking
Alfred
Tim
Hitchcock
Hortons or something. Really? Hang on a second. I thought we were back in time. Aren't there dinosaurs again or dragons or whatever the fuck?
Tyrion talking about Kevin Feige and how he was kind of a little bit pretentious towards the end of his reign.
Or Kevin Costner.
I thought you were going to say Kevin Spacey. I was going to say that's a very different conversation.
Him as well. All the Kevins, troublesome.
Look, me bringing the Irish in, if you say Waterworld, I'm going to say Liam Cunningham, amazing Irish actor as Davos
Love
Seaworth.
that.
I fucking love Waterworld. I fucking love it. I can't.
We should
even
put
tell
that
you.
on one of our lists. I've been talking about doing a list of Mad Maxian, end of the world style trope films, and
Sure.
I love that idea.
What you need to do is go out and find yourself the Ulysses cut, which is the 4-hour cut that Kevin Costner made. I have it on 4K. It
Fabulous.
is fucking I can't even tell you how fucking unhinged it is. You were talking about last week about fucking True Lies being unhinged. This Waterworld shit, you're not ready.
I love that.
Sounds
Sorry,
great.
I just need to go back. Matt, was there a point that I get it that Game of Thrones has moments of unreality, but this doesn't help the story.
I think you have to forgive a director or an author sometimes making a reference that helps it make sense to the audience. You even did it yourself at the very beginning of this. I said, set in New York, and you immediately said, no, New Rome, buddy. You immediately look to the source material as the setting of the film, despite there actually being a hidden reference to New York in there.
I mean, it's just fucking New York. Why didn't you just say it's New York? I don't understand. It is literally New York. It's filmed mostly to be New York. I'm just call it. Who cares? Why change the name? That's what's dumb about it.
You know what this needs is a really deep and maybe do 2 of them and you've got to watch it twice. Director's commentary from FCC. Like,
you think I want to watch this again?
Well, maybe with Francis Ford Coppola doing it, because he did a commentary for Apocalypse Now, which is really good and detailed and all that stuff. Maybe that's what this needs, to just explain some of the motivations.
Sure, and I have an actual question for you, Reek. So, in that exact scene where Natalie Manuel's character, she's going through the prosecutor notes. Why the fuck were the prosecutor notes just news clippings? Why wasn't the actual evidence?
Maybe they had like one of those cool like manhunter boards.
Yeah.
And they were just like with thread.
It wasn't actual evidence, it was just news clippings been like, man.
But that's what this world is. That's what it is. It's a world driven
like
by
a comic
media.
book,
that's
isn't
what he's
it?
trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's an interesting point to make, but Tommy's right. It's so muddled, you can't.
Did you say I was right?
Well, no, I just mean like
happened?
the points that Matt has made about it. There's something there. There absolutely is, and I can see
absolutely.
it. But it's hard to hear over the fucking cacophonous din that is the rest of this movie with John Voight's fucking old crowy ass, and what was it? Wow
Platinum.
Wow Platinum, like that whole thing. Like, I like Aubrey Plaza, but what the fuck is she doing there? Like,
I found that quite interesting though, because that was supposed to be, like that's your Fox News, that's your, heightened reality that those news channels make for you, and like it's a little blunt, but I like that they try to fit something like that in there as well.
I've never seen anyone on Fox News eat muff, and I think that would be, a really good turn for Fox. If you're listening, I know you listen, Fox News. Just eat more muff.
They listen to everything we say
on camera.
That was actually specifically talking about the scene that you're talking about, where she rocks up to a bank. Shia LaBeouf is throwing his hat around for people to pick up or whatever. They end up in like probably the most sexual scene of the entire film, and it didn't really contribute much. It was just kind of like a really long connection to the idea that they were trying to take a bunch of Crassus's money from a bank.
They'll just we're going to team up, and in order to do that, get downstairs. That's kind of
give mummy what she wants.
Yeah, which is it's an uncomfortable scene to watch sitting next to grandparents. Not my grandparents, but yeah, they would have loved it.
They were committed. Like, Shia's face wasn't CGI'd in there.
Oh, I thought you meant the grandparents were committed. They were totally in that moment.
Listen, if they stayed there that long, they were definitely committed. That's
what I was worried about. I didn't want to turn around and see this guy munching clam behind me. Like,
they were the noise wasn't ice cream, mate.
They finished their popcorn hours ago.
Are you enjoying
How much ice cream did they bring?
I didn't get a chock top.
Did they bring an esky?
They brought something.
Calippos for everyone.
Calippos indeed. That's what it sounds like.
He's brought his twister, bless him.
Fantastic.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I don't think all of this movie was terrible. Like, I'm clearly being, kind of crass and kind of mean about it. Like, there were clearly things about it that, did work. Because it was so long, and I was honestly just so humbly embarrassed by this the whole time. Like, I struggled to think about. I struggled to pick one and go, that was the thing I enjoyed, and that's more on me, I think, than the movie itself.
There's a lot of design elements that I thought were really interesting. You messaged me and you were saying how it was, all of it looked like AI. AI has made everything look AI. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, we're all questioning everything. And I feel like there is a lot more thought going into that than you think there is. I don't think Coppola is going to bring out something that he hasn't. Like, if you've ever seen the Hearts of Darkness, the documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now that Eleanor actually made, the guy he's in. Like, when he's locked in, I don't think there would have been a misstep there.
Yeah, no, and I think what I'm trying to get at there is that for someone who so famously can create amazing image, like you think about Apocalypse Now, you think about the Marlon Brando character, the use of dark and light, like the not the necessity to have anything else in the shot. Like, he can create a shot better than, I would say, a lot of directors than I've ever seen, period. The fact that he felt he needed to use this much CGI rather than creating something, and he's already spending 120 million, just baffles me. Like, I feel like he's the type of director who could or would have should have built something at least a bit practical for them to work with, rather than kind of just going, fuck it, we'll do it in post, which is kind of ironically the Marvel thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's this big irony to me. Like, this whole movie is this giant irony that I just can't get my head around. It just baffles me.
Some of the elements did work well, though, like the statues that are all falling apart, like Justice falls down because she's tired and they drop the tablet.
You liked that? My
I thought it looked good. I thought it was well realized.
That was the imagery that kind of hit you over the head and said, hey, there's something here that's more than just what you're looking at. Like it's making a statement as well as looking great.
And like putting it on Broadway as well. It's not like he wasn't being subtle, I don't think.
No.
This movie is in no way subtle.
Yeah. There you go. I think that's it. For a man who is so fabulously built on subtlety, like there is zero subtlety in this movie at all. Like there's no counterbalance to any of like the characters. One's good, one's bad. You just follow through that storyline. It's like it just needed an extra layer of grey to it.
Yeah. I mean, well, speaking of subtlety, like I said, saw the conversation last night, and that is so little happens. And like Gene Hackman's character says nothing, but then again, so much with the subtlety of his performance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's obviously capable of getting that out of actors and getting that out of staging a sequence or whatever. Yeah.
I hate not liking things this much. I like laughing at things. This is really annoying. I want to have fun, but I'm like, I just really struggled.
In fairness to him, I think the characterization of people in this, like you've got, the one character that I will say has probably shit in Francis Ford Coppola's cornflakes at some point is Dustin Hoffman, who is like one of the, pinnacle actors in the big list. And he gets like 4 lines. 3 of them are repeated, and then he dies with a building falling on him with no fanfare whatsoever. And then he's just gone.
I didn't know he died.
That's off screen, I think, isn't it?
I think it was Carthage, the satellite of Carthage fell on New York, and he died in a collapse or something. Right. But Shia LaBeouf was trying to take the credit for killing him or whatever. Anyway.
That's a scenes deleted situation, absolutely.
Yeah. In the director's cut, well, not the director's cut, the Tommy cut, some of that stuff gets disappeared. But the characterization, it's not about assembling a bunch of characters and building a message based on that, because there's no time for you to focus on any one person except for Adam Driver's character, tiny bit of Crassus, maybe some Wow Platinum, and Julia. It's all like big theatrical panning shots or passes where you can imagine FFC just said to him, just do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you. Just do things and I'll record it. And they're kind of just like, particularly at the table at the Colosseum in that middle scene, where they're all just kind of doing stuff. There's no real direction or focus. Yeah,
there is actually like Fames. There's a lot of ad-libbing in this. Like apparently, a lot of the characters, a lot of the actors were allowed to just go, and you can tell that. I think there's actually a scene where one of the actors, so Natalie Emmanuel's character has like 3 like lackey females with her who are her cousins or something. I can't 100% remember, but
they're sirens.
Yeah. And one of them at one point, and I vividly remember because I looked at my fiance and was like, what? Like she said a line, she clearly like flubbed it, and then she just said the line again differently. I was like, how did that make the final cut? Like, what? Didn't you maybe want to give that another try? You know what I mean?
It was verisimilitude. He was looking for the real moments.
Of course,
yeah,
of course. And you're right. I think there's a lot of goodness in this with some of the characterization. It's just a shame that in such a bombastic movie, it didn't get any focus. Like, I wanted to know more about some of the other characters' motivations other than, just Adam Driver, whose name I'm never going to remember. Caesar something. Caesar Clitoris.
Salad. It was Caesar salad.
With not clitoris? I got that wrong today.
Anchovy dressing.
Okay, cool.
Catalina, I believe.
Croutons.
That's right. Right. And I did, like, none of their motivations, like, the one you mentioned, Aubrey Plaza's character, was in love with him. Okay, why? I have no idea. She was just obsessed with him. Shia LaBeouf's character had been teased by him his whole life. Okay, give me more about that. I want to know how that affected you. Who the fuck was Lawrence Fishburne, who narrated the first half of the movie and then vanished?
Lawrence Fishburne, by the way.
Born?
I'm glad you called it, Regs. I was about to jump on and be like, I'm not getting frustrated in the edit this time. You're copping it full barrels, Tommy.
Oh my God, that's Lawrence Fishburne.
We suddenly do the thing. What is it when, have you seen the interview with Samuel Jackson and the guy calls him Lawrence Fishburne and he's like...
Well, he asked
really?
him if he was in the Matrix.
Yes,
he was like, that's
right.
Lawrence Fishburne, you racist motherfucker. And rightly so.
I think my point was, before pronouncing a word wrong, which I've now done again, was that I didn't like the characterization of certain characters was fantastic. Those around them I'd have liked more of. I think it would have made the film more interesting, more dynamic, more just deeper in general.
Yeah.
Lawrence's character particularly, like he could have very much been.
You didn't
like
want to say Fishburne there, did you? You didn't want to get it wrong yourself. It's in your head. It's
a long name, buddy.
There.
It's a long name. I don't want to say the full thing. Morpheus.
Yeah.
He was his voiceover of the tablets that popped up as the story progressed, as obscure as they were. I really enjoyed that, and I was waiting, probably like you, for him to emerge as like a custodian. Like maybe he turns to the camera and starts reciting the final tablet at the very end, which was dated 2024, by the way. I'm not sure if that's kind of a wall-breaking thing, but
it's a parallel reality. Who cares?
I liked him being in it, though. When you heard him before you saw him, I was like, oh, cool, he's the narrator or whatever. Coppola gave him his first role in Apocalypse Now. He was 17.
No, I thought he was like 14. I thought he was super young. He's too young to be.
Is that right? I thought, okay, that's even crazier if it's that. Fucking hell. If he was 14, that's, yeah.
Oh, wild. And such an interesting movie to be part of.
What's his name? Errol Flynn would have loved him.
Now, save that thought, because there might be a little bit of trivia true or false about that in just a moment.
Oh, all right.
One person that I would have loved to have known more about was the mayor character. So Giancarlo Esposito's character.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
6 splits in this movie. It was amazing. He did all the splits.
Matt, you've killed me. I can't do words anymore. I do words bad now.
I'll do people's names.
Spotlight's on you, buddy.
I feel like he just played the same characters he always plays, the bad guy. And I wanted to know, like, again, more about those motivations. I think he was quite a good foil. And him and Adam Driver would have been great to see together. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, it was. And then all of a sudden, it's all amicable because he knocked up his daughter and stuff, and then they're all together at the end. It was all... Another thing as well, like around about that same time, the assassination attempt is pretty amazing, especially considering, I won't say what, but the circumstances by which that happens. You see something going on.
We're in full spoilers. Like,
it's a fucking kid. Like, you think it's going to be the car, and then it ends up being this kid with a gun, like, which is terrifying.
You thought a car was going to shoot him. How does a car shoot someone?
What did I say? You said you thought it was going to be the car. I was like, is the car going to shoot him? No, I thought it was going to blow up. Like, no, the car wasn't going to transform into fucking Bumblebee and blow this guy away. Then again, I wouldn't put it past him. But then he gets his face fixed with the material that
was nonsense. Utter nonsense.
And then it's all terrible, and he's all elephant man-y. And then the next scene, he's fine.
Back.
Like,
he's fixed.
Yeah. So, and the thing about the pacing, that I don't know what you guys thought, but like for such a long movie, it had so many of these little side quests. For me, like, it felt super rushed. I was like, even though I felt like I was in that cinema my entire life, those people behind you, they'd actually start. They were babies when they started this movie, and now look at them. It was so inconsistent with that stuff and so muddled that I never felt like I fully got like a portion of the movie that I felt completely wasn't rushed.
Yep. Yeah, I can feel that. A lot of it felt vignette-y.
Yes.
Like, this is a story that's going on, and this is a story that's going on, and all the while the thread's happening behind it all.
It could have almost been... I mean, like, I feel like if it was set out like that, it could have been significantly more interesting,
To me, it felt like a tour guide through a museum was dragging me by the wrist, running past stuff and pointing at it, and then going, this is good, keep going.
Yeah, I'm so on board with that. And it almost felt like what I said before about Coppola's, like, Coppola. Am I still saying that wrong? It felt like his
Frank Cop.
Idiot. Like all the different eras of film that he has enjoyed or picked something out of, or even a microaggression towards one of them. He's like going, look at that one, and now look at that one, now look at that one, and exactly what you're saying. It felt like you've been dragged headfirst through it, which was befuddling, shall I say?
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I still had a good time with it.
Great. And that's all that matters, right? Isn't that the whole point of movies and things?
I was in a fucking good mood that day as well, so that kind of, that helped.
That would have helped a lot. I don't think I was. I think I was really fucking tired, so that doesn't help.
But to be fair, though, I had just watched that morning. I was at the cinema as well and doing my double bills, and they were doing Lawrence of Arabia.
Oof, your favourite.
So, which I love Lawrence.
Lawrence Fishburne or Born, or just Lawrence of Arabia?
Born. He was Fishborn, all right? No woman of Fishborn.
The style of the film reminded me, like the way it was built and filmed and assembled and the way that things progressed and stuff. It reminded me of those old kinds of films. So you were probably primed, Regs, to like...
I was ready for old Hollywood, absolutely. And I watched we're doing Lord of the Rings on my other show at the moment, so I just watched those as well, and that feels old Hollywood. So yeah, maybe I was just in a good place for it. Maybe if I watch it again, it'll soften.
I think this. So my final thought on this at this point is that I think this was Francis Ford Coppola's way of sort of saying old cinema's better. Here's why, and he wildly missed the mark. Wildly, and no one's going to come out of this going, "Yeah, old cinema's way better." They're going to come out going, "That was 2.5 hours. I'm never going to get back."
He doesn't understand a modern audience, and there's a clip that I put up on IG. You know, it was because Mad Men has just Mad Men. What's the company? Yeah, no, that's right. Mad Men, the distribution company, has put out the documentary about Apocalypse Now, and there was a clip from that about him saying about when you're a filmmaker, you worry about being pretentious, you know, but you still have to tell the story right and all that shit. And he's like, I'm not concerned about whether or not I'm pretentious, and he absolutely isn't. He's just going to do what he wants to do, and it's a little pretentious. That's all I'm saying.
So, all right, let's wrap this up then. So, what's the climax of this movie? Like, what is the ending thrust of this to you both?
Jon Hamm gets his fucking huge hog out and sprays.
We get a voiceover from Benedict Cumberbatch about, I'm just closing loops everywhere, guys.
Bing-lings.
In fairness, like it all comes good at the end. Cicero and Catalina shake hands as they look towards a future built by Megalon that has slowly been building in the background behind a chain link fence looked on by the mob. And they move on with their daughter, and everything's happily ever after, except for Lawrence Fishburne, of course, who is forced
to go back to the sea. He's got to go back to the ocean from whence he came.
Back to the ocean.
to join the Aquaman movie he never was part of, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this is where I kind of I lose a little bit of the aspect of fableness with using Roman epics as a bit of an inspiration, where I looked up the Catalina conspiracy, which all the names are pulled from it. Like, it cannot not be a reference. Like, you got your Catalina, you got your Caesars, you've got your Ciceros. Turns out there was a small militaristic insurrection at the time by Catalina to overthrow the consul at the time. Failed, got jailed, eventually exonerated, but he took on a bunch of bad people to be able to do that. Meanwhile, Cicero was still one of the lead consuls at the time, and Caesar was still heading up things in Rome at the time too. So here we've got Caesar Catalina, two completely opposite characters in that historical portion of Rome.
When you say Caesar Catalina, I feel like I want to get some like
castanets,
dance on.
Maracas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get some maracas.
Big maracas is the one I was looking for. Yeah.
Catalina.
Steel drum.
Yeah, but and then you've got Cicero, who was actually the one who emerged victorious. None of them shook hands. Like, Rome at the time was cutthroat. You also had the satellite named Carthage, which was an area that Rome just razed at the time. Like, as an empire expanding, it just destroyed it. And yet you've got Carthage coming back to this modern new Rome as something that destroys it. Because Carthage does come back as an insurrection, but Rome continues afterwards. So it was very unusual historically in terms of the parallels there that confused me.
Yeah, right.
Muddled, I think the words we've used throughout this podcast are. I don't need it to follow, Roman ancient history to the letter. I just think if you're going to use it, maybe just pull a few things from it. Don't try and use it as an outline and then just go fucking wild at the end of it. I think you're right. The end of the movie was that, and everything was okay. To me personally, it felt like this grand message that I'm Francis Ford Coppola, I've saved cinema now, you're welcome. I was like,
I love
thanks.
That you've taken this very personally, Tom.
I have.
Like,
so
you're looking at it
personally.
as a subtextual revenge movie that has nothing to do with the actual text. It's the subtext that's the real goal of Megalopolis.
Well, it absolutely 100% is that. Like, I mentioned the microaggressions at the beginning as like a sort of joke, but it is that. And you said it yourself. It feels like been dragged through, you can say whatever you want, a museum, a mausoleum, whatever it is, of these different aspects and elements of cinema. And at no point did I think that any of them weren't him going, I don't like this about this thing, so I'm going to highlight it to the world. Every single step of the way, it felt like that to me. And like, you can completely disagree. Like, you can say what you want, I don't give a shit. But like, in my head while I was watching it, it felt personal because it was him making his point to you, the audience member, who ironically has paid a shit ton of money to go and watch this movie that I mean, it's not cheap to go to cinema anymore. Let's be fucking honest. You've paid a lot of money to go unless you pirate it. I don't know why you're from Bristol.
He's not. He's from Ireland. That's
Right.
my Irish voice.
I'm from Ireland. Pour me a pint and get me a field of potatoes. Put the turf on the fire.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
You know what it is? I think it's the guy who plays Little John in the Kevin Costner Robin Hood Prince of Thieves.
Lad, I think you're pulling Hobbits.
Maybe that's true as well. I've just recently watched them, so it might be seeping in.
I love it. Sorry, I'll finish that point. It felt personal because it felt like Coppola's big middle finger to the movie industry as it is right now. Old movies are the best, but at the same time, none of his points hit, and he was doing all the things that those movies do. So it felt like he wildly missed his own point. And that was how I felt coming out of this. And if I'd have just had two old people behind me, maybe I could have joined in and enjoyed the whole movie.
Joined in to what?
Eating the ice cream.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The new term, Megalopolis edging. That's how you get through
edging,
2.5 hours.
The whole movie is edging.
Riggs, I don't know if you had any final thoughts.
I like I said, I don't disagree with anything that's been said, but I still enjoyed it. I will watch it again. I think, Tommy, your point about him putting it all out there and putting it in your face and pointing your finger, this is what's wrong. He's doing that, and the reason that you're not used to it is because everything is fucking softball these days. It's all candy corn, and it's all made for you, the consumer, just the way that you like it, you little bitch. Here, eat it all up. Nim, nim, nim. Like, he's challenging, and I don't think that people are prepared for it. And clearly, with the box office, that's not the case. So,
I don't think this is a challenging movie. I'm sorry. I think a challenging movie is, what's that Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he chases ambulances?
Ambulance.
No.
Was it an ambulance?
Nightcrawler or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no, he's in an ambulance. He's inside
Michael
an
Bay's
ambulance. Yeah, no, I'll get
ambulance.
my ambulance. Jake Gyllenhaal pictures fucked up. He makes one of those every other week.
Nightcrawler,
He
confronting movie, amazing film. I was not expecting that when I went in, and I fucking loved it. This, I don't know, but like, I love that you liked it, and that's exactly what theater cinema is supposed to be. Before we wrap up, then, do you have a 3 best and or 3 worst for this film? Let's just do one each, as there's 3 of us.
You go ahead, Matt.
The best is that in a couple of years, the filmmaking syllabus of schools across the planet will be sorted, because this film will make it there
What not
as
to
a
do.
study of what not to do or what to do, or how to unpack a film of this caliber, where realistically you need some sort of filmmaking degree to do a one-pass look at it and pull out the things that you need. Whereas if it's put through its paces across 12 weeks with a bunch of kids and a teacher pretending they know what's going on, I think that's the way to extract what you need from it.
And that teacher will be me.
Riggs?
I've got to say, Francis Ford Coppola making the film that he wanted to make at all costs, and Adam Driver's fucking sweet ass.
Absolutely. I said I didn't like anything about this movie. I was obviously being a little bit facetious. I do think, some of the cast really held up. Adam Driver was fantastic in this. But I didn't take a lot of joy from this, which is unfortunate. Do you have a worst, Mr. Matthew Bliss at Blistery.fm?
Well, it's mbpod.com now.
It is mbpod.com. I do that every week.
Stop changing your shit then. Just fucking commit.
Yeah.
I'm committed, buddy.
Like Francis Ford Coppola, all right? He committed.
120 million brand change.
Putting 20 million in your brand change, crying out loud.
So I'm gonna rep Dustin Hoffman, my guy. I think he got gypped in this. I think he had a bad conversation with Frank at some point in the last 30 years, and
I love that.
paid him a bunch of money to get stiffed. So yeah,
I love you took that one little microaggression out of this movie and went, fuck yeah, he got screwed. I love that.
Yeah, Francis. Yeah. Movie definitely pretentious, Francis. Yeah. Sorry, that was my Rain Man.
I thought you were doing
enjoyed it.
Peter Griffin. What's yours, Riggs?
I'd say probably the conceit that everyone is for sale. I have a problem with that because I think that says a lot about people, and I don't agree with it. I don't think everybody's for sale. And there was fucking way too much Mark Wahlberg, and he wasn't even in it. But there was still too much. Fuck that guy. Fuck him in his stupid face.
Who would Mark Wahlberg be if he was in this movie?
he was one of those dancing acrobatic clowns in the Colosseum.
No, he would be Aubrey Plaza's Muff. All right, I can't even. I hate Mark Wahlberg. My God. Okay.
I love how much you hate Mark Wahlberg.
Because it's literally just sitting there going, "What? What?"
The muff is
the entire film. Why am I here? What's happening?
Why is Shia LaBeouf licking me? My final one is just
John Voight's old.
Shia LaBeouf.
The hubris of this film. The hubris of this film. I can't even. So finally, then, let's talk a little bit about the critical reception. That's how you say that, right? Can you both guess for me what the current IMDb score is for this?
36.
3.6? Nope. Matt Bliss?
I'm going to go 5-5.
Ooh, it's 5-1. Matt Bliss takes round one in the blue corner. I can't remember what corner I said before. Can you guess for me the current combined Rotten Tomatoes score? MB, you go first, as you won the last one.
I'm going to say 72.
Okay.
I'm going to do the Price is Right thing and say 71.
Fuck, he's got it.
You're both wrong. It's Z. No, I'm kidding. It's 47%.
Ooh.
Audiences no likey. And the final one is Letterboxd, which is out of 5. It's always 3.6, but it's never 3.6. Say it at the same time. I'm going to say 1, 3, 2, 1, go, and you both say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1, go.
Fishborn.
3.6.
Sorry, 2.7. 2.7.
Nah, go 1.5, buddy.
1.5. It is 2.4 out of 5, and really, that's not nicht so gut.
That's not a good film. That means that most people enjoy rectal surgery more than they enjoyed this movie.
I would definitely have enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Fully awake more than this movie. Can you tell me then the rating system of this very podcast, which is that we do it every week? And it's simply that because the internet is very binary, we just say, is this better or worse than the most average movie that we know of? And at this point, that's Aquaman 2018. Gents.
It's tough. I like it more.
Yep.
And Aquaman, again, Fishborn. He was definitely Fishborn.
He was born a fish.
He was born of fish. I enjoyed it more, but it's more in my wheelhouse. Like, you Aquaman's
can say
fine
better.
But
no one's gonna be upset if you say better.
I don't know if it's a better made film though. Aquaman's really well made. James Wan is a fucking master.
Awesome
but
director,
I just the film is. I mean, it's been so much time on a boat and then in the desert. It's fucking ridiculous.
In the desert.
Yeah, they're in the desert the whole time on creams.
Come on, it's binary. You got to say better or worse.
It's better. I find it better.
Okay, Matt.
I'm going to say better, just because I know there's a depth I haven't plumbed with Megalopolis yet. Whereas I know Aquaman, I just have to picture him downing a pint, then Nicole Kidman, and then a bunch of swimming where people can talk for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just Nicole Kidman for no reason. I love that. That's fantastic.
It doesn't ask of much of you, that's for sure.
Right.
Whereas TV shows and movies ask a lot of Nicole Kidman's face these days, and it's really unfortunate.
It is. It's like she's been stunned. I can't even with it.
Have you seen the clapping where she's acting like she's clapping, but her hands aren't actually touching? Fabulous.
It's because that was shattered. She's made out of porcelain for fucking out loud.
Precisely. Yep. Nails just fly off.
Let's do a little bit of trivia, true or false. I've got a bunch of them, and you can both have a wild guess, and you can tell me whether you think this IMDb trivia is true or is it false. Okay, trivia true, trivia false. This is the 5th collaboration between Francis Ford Coppola and Lawrence Fishburne. Is that true or is that false?
False.
Yeah, I'd say false. It feels like a Tommy inflation. I'd say it's 4 or something.
It is actually 5. There is this, there is Apocalypse Now, there's Rumblefish, there's Cotton Club, and there is Gardens of Stone.
Fuck my hole.
I have seen some and not all of those.
Yeah, I've only seen 2 of those, so.
Okay, well, fuck your hole. That's exactly
I think
right.
I saw Rumblefish at some point, but I don't remember it very well. It was, again, fish. Born in...
They're bringing it back.
There's a theme. We have a theme now, which is
Rumble
great.
That Fish Spawn. Okay. Which one of these actors was not originally in contention to be in a lead role of this film? Was not.
Okay.
Jude Law, Oscar Isaac, Nick Cage, Leonardo DiCaprio, Christian Bale. And because I forgot, I wrote down Jude Law again.
Cage.
Matt?
Oh, no, he's Coppola's nephew.
Yeah.
So maybe.
He is.
I'll stick with him.
I reckon Oscar Isaac. He's of a time he'd be making statements with him. Yeah.
Okay. It's a trick question, bitches. They were all in contention at one time or another for a lead in this movie.
Thief and put stuff in your museums.
Isn't that wild? Isn't it? Apparently, Forrest Whitaker at one point was up for the Lawrence Fishburne character as well, which is earth-shattering. So many people have been involved in this movie because it's been on the burner for so very long. It's, I think I'm doing the penguin thing that Benedict Cumberbatch says. I'm so terrified of saying Lawrence Fishburne's last name that I keep saying it completely differently every time I say it. Trivia true, trivia false, gentlemen. This marks the 9th time Adam Driver has appeared in a film that had been in development hell for over a decade. Is that true or is that false?
The 9th time?
The 9th time that Adam Driver has appeared in a movie which has been in development hell for over a decade.
Nah, that's too many. That's way too many.
I'd say I would have given it if like COVID pandemic stuff went for 10 years, but no, I don't think so. No.
It's actually true.
What the fuck are these projects?
There's actually more. So there's this. There's the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which technically is classing as one in this.
Mm-hmm.
There's Silence, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Last Duel. There's The House of Gucci, there's White Noise, and there's Ferrari. So that is all of those
shit.
9s. Ultimately, I felt like this was a student film which had a $120 million budget. It just didn't grab me. But I love that it grabbed you, Regs, and I love that, Matt, you're going to go back and you're going to check it out because I think on a
And hopefully
rewatch...
not with someone standing up with a fucking fez on and going to get some popcorn or whatever the hell it is.
No lie. 2 people got up and I was like, what is it? Oh, yeah.
Well, famously, we didn't talk about this. Famously, when it was at Cannes, there is a section of this film, and you may or may not have noticed, but and one of the things I absolutely hated about this was when the camera kept doing these weird things where it would cut out. But when there was it was like a press conference, and Adam Driver was being questioned about the Virgin bit in the theater. A human being would stand up and ask the question. That was like the thing about this movie. It had like a real life interaction. So obviously that hasn't translated into like actual full release at this point, which is, Do
you know why? Because that's fucking stupid.
Isn't it utter nonsense?
Stupid, man.
Isn't it utter nonsense? But
when Spider-Man stand up in the middle of a Spider-Man film and web everybody, like, get fucked. This isn't 4DX.
Is that a euphemism, Riggs?
No, just actual Spider-Man shooting webs.
Gents, I appreciate you both so much for coming on today. Let's start with you, Riggs. Where can our lovely listeners find you?
You can find us at the Film Addicts Podcast. We're on all the different platforms. And the Stitch Up, which is my other show, that's on YouTube. Hit 66, Sound and Screen, and Capel Sound Studios are the companies that I run and work for, and we do lots of cool stuff with cameras and lights and sound and ting.
They make beautiful things. You should go and check them out immediately. Their reels are to die for.
Cheers.
Mr. Bliss, where can our lovely listeners find you?
mbpod.com, or leave comments on Podcast Assemble, and maybe Tommy will send them if they're mean. And
only if they're mean.
Coffee with a Podcaster, From My Home to Yours, if you want the full catalogue, Teaching Culture Cast, and Dead Drop Game News, which is quite dead. But if you want to know about video game news from 2 years ago, go and have a listen.
And I do every day of my life. This is going to be a weird little time vortexy piece when I say this right now. But guys, thank you so much for sticking with it. Please leave us a 5-star review, as you totally should for these two fine gentlemen and all of their work. Very wholesome. And Regs, whatever your stuff is, I laugh at it every time I listen to it. I can't not laugh at your episodes. It makes just gets me. Just makes me giggle. But a big thank you to you, Matt. This is the time loopy part for in the future having edited this podcast while in the present being part of the podcast. How does this work? How does any of this work? I don't really understand.
Time stop.
But if you want Matt to be part of your podcasting team, Matt, where can they find you?
mbpod.com, or email me at business@mbpod.com, and I will happily tell you that your podcast sounds like garbage and that I can fix it.
And he can, and I need to update my notes because mine say a very different thing. Likewise, you can find us at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Send us memes, send us news, send us reviews. We love it when you do. Gents, you have been stunning. Thank you so much for joining me this week.
Pleasure.
Tally-ho!
Tally-ho? Wait, tacos. Hang on.
Latest gators.
Are you just having word
diarrhea?
Tourette's, like normal word Tourette's now?